Hello, everyone. This is Mrs. Kringle, your librarian, and I wanted to introduce myself and say hello to all of you. You guys are going to be coming down to the library over the next couple of days. Miss Lampy's classes will be coming down on Friday, and Miss Asplin's classes will be coming down on Monday. And we're going to do a scavenger hunt when you guys come down, have an opportunity to play with the card catalog and learn where different collections are in the library, get some materials checked out so you have a material checked out. And so I'm really excited to introduce you to our 16,000 book collection down here in the library on Friday and Monday of this week and next week. So I'm looking forward to that. Before you come down, I wanted to do some book talks for you of some of the books in our collection that I think are absolutely awesome. These books currently are on the shelf. They may not be by the time you get down here. If they're not, we can always place holds on them, or we can find other books that are similar to it. I just want to kind of give you an idea of some of the breadth and depth of our collection and just some of the fun titles that we have in our collection. So that's just something that I want to share with you. So we'll get started today. This is called Books to Sink Your Teeth Into. The first one I want to tell you about is a book called Stormbreaker by Anthony Horowitz. It's the first in a series called the Alex Rider series. So if you're someone who likes to read in series, this is a great book. This is the story of Alex Rider. He's 14 years old when he gets a knock on the door in the middle of the night. A knock on the door in the middle of the night is never a good thing. Alex goes and opens the door, and standing there are two police officers, and they say, "We hate to tell you this, Alex, but your beloved Uncle Ian has been killed this evening in a car accident." Alex can tell that behind the police officers there's a lot of rain right now and the roads are slick. And the policemen further tell him that it was just he slipped on the road and he wasn't wearing a seatbelt and he was killed immediately upon impact. And Alex is devastated because his Uncle Ian is his guardian and he's not sure what's going to happen to him right now. He's also pretty suspicious. So the next day, he goes out to investigate on his own. He's suspicious because he knows his Uncle Ian was very meticulous, very careful, and he just can't see him driving too quickly for the road conditions, and he can't see him not wearing a seatbelt. So he goes out and he tries to find his uncle's car, and he finds the car has been towed to a junkyard, and they're about to crush it, and he's kind of perplexed by this. Why are they trying to destroy the car? And he kind of gets a closer look at the car, and what he realizes is that the car is not a car that's been in a car accident. It's a car riddled with bullet holes. But who would murder his mild-mannered banker uncle? He is just so confused. He doesn't understand. He goes to his uncle's place of employment the next day and sits down with his uncle's bosses. He's there to collect his uncle's belongings. And Ian's bosses say, "Alex, I know you think your Uncle Ian was this mild-mannered banker and that he worked at a bank and that this is a bank, but it's a lie. He was actually a spy for MI6, and you are going to finish his mission for him." And Alex becomes a 14-year-old spy. If you like books with nonstop plot action, very much like a James Bond movie, Stormbreaker is a great choice for you. And like I said, if you like books that you can read in a series, this is a series book. The first one, Stormbreaker by Anthony Horowitz. The Night She Disappeared by April Henry. If you like mystery books, April Henry is a person and an author to look into because she writes great mystery books. The Night She Disappeared is the story of Drew and Kayla. They are working the night shift at Pizza. And it's right before closing time, about 20 minutes before closing time, when they get a call for a delivery. And Drew takes the phone call and he takes the order. And the man on the other end of the phone is asking to have two Meat Lover Supremes, large Meat Lover Supreme pizzas delivered to him out on a country road. And he asks how long it's going to take. And Drew says, "Well, we'll have it to you in about 15, 20 minutes. And the man says, "Okay, is the girl who drives the black Mini Cooper going to be delivering my pizza?" And this question throws Drew off, and he says to this man, "Somebody will deliver your pizzas," and he hangs up the phone. Well, Kayla's the one with the car, so she goes out to make the delivery after the pizzas are made, and she doesn't return. The next day, the police are there interviewing Drew, asking him to try to remember anything he can remember about that caller's voice or anything he said or anything he heard in the background. And when he's being interviewed by the police, he remembers that question, the question he kind of had forgotten about. And he says, it was weird, but the man asked me if the girl driving the black Mini Cooper would be delivering my pizzas. And Gabby's heart stops. Gabby is a fellow employee who drives a black Mini Cooper. She was supposed to have been working that evening, but she traded shifts with Kayla because Kayla wanted to go on a date with her boyfriend on the weekend, so she wanted to trade shifts. And Gabby had agreed to do that. And she's devastated because she knows that whatever befell Kayla was really supposed to have befallen her. And she sets out with Drew to try to find Kayla before it's too late. And that's called The Night She Disappeared. If you enjoy stories with war themes or friendship, this Vietnam series by Chris Lynch is an excellent one. There are 5, as you can see on the slide here, 5 books in the series. You don't have to read these books in order, although I would tell you not to read book 5 until you've read at least one of the first 4. The premise of the story is this. It's the story of 4 friends by the names of Morris, Ivan, Rudy, and Beck. They make a pact that if one of them is drafted to war in Vietnam, they will all 4 go, because they're best friends and whatever happens, they want to do it together. And so one of them is drafted and the other 3 decide to join up. And each of them joins a different branch of the military. So when you read these stories, even though they're fiction, they give you an experience of what it was like to participate in the Vietnam War in the different branches. So there's the Army, the Navy, the Marines, and the Air Force. And they are excellent reads. Like I said, you don't have to read them in order. You can read whichever one you want. But they are an excellent story about friendship and about war and conflict and about Vietnam, which is a very interesting topic. So this is a Vietnam series by Chris Lynch. Michael Vey, Prisoner of Cell 25 by Richard Paul Evans, is a story of Michael Vey. Michael Vey is of small stature, and he has Tourette's syndrome, which causes him at times to blurt out noises or words. And these 2 features make him the target of bullies at his school. And so he tries very hard to stay under the radar because he doesn't want to lose his temper. When Michael loses his temper, he has very disastrous results because Michael has the ability to produce electrical shocks. He can control energy. And when he gets angry, he loses his ability to control these electrical shocks, and he gives out great shocks that can hurt people, and he doesn't want to do that. So he tries very hard to stay under the radar. The only people who know about his supernatural abilities and his ability to control electricity and to cause surges and shocks are his mom and his friend Austin, who he's sworn to secrecy. Those are the only 2. But he feels very alone and wishes he understood why he had these powers. Then he meets a classmate of his at the high school called Taylor. And Taylor herself has the ability to control electricity, but in a different way than Michael. She can control people's electrical brain impulses. She can change what they're thinking. She can change what they're feeling through telekinesis. She has the ability to read their minds and change their minds based on their electrical brain impulses. And she's always felt very alone as well, never knew that there were other people who had the ability to control electricity, maybe in just a different way. So the 2 of them get connected, and they want to figure out why they have these abilities. So they start to try to figure out what they have in common. And what they discover is that they were both born at the same hospital around the same time. And they think that this might be the connection. So they set out to try to find any other kids who might have been born at that time to see if they have these abilities as well. But there's an evil force after them who notices that these 2 have teamed up, Michael and Taylor, and is not happy. This person is not. And they set out, this evil person, this evil force sets out to stop Michael and Taylor. And Michael realizes just how very serious this is the day he comes home from school and discovers that his mom has been taken or has disappeared and been kidnapped. And so he sets out to find his mother and sets out to find out why exactly he has these powers and what those powers are supposed to be used for. This is called Michael Vey, Prisoner of Cell 25. The Running Dream by Wendelin Van Draaten. Jessica lives to run. It is the meaning and the reason of her life. She loves it. She can't imagine doing anything else but running. She is on a school bus one day on her way to a track meet when there is an accident, a horrible accident, and the bus flips over on the side of the road. And Jessica is pinned beneath one of the benches on the bus seat, on the bus school bus. Her leg is pinned underneath. And in order to get her out, they have to use the jaws of life. And her leg, as a result of the accident, ends up having to be amputated. And she is devastated because she believes that this means the end of her dream. She returns to a school with a prosthetic leg, just devastated, depressed, doesn't want anything to do with her former track friends. But her track friends aren't willing to let her give up on her dream of being a runner, and they find a way to help her run again. The Running Dream. Great story. The Dead and the Gone by Susan Beth Pfeiffer. If you like survival stories, this is an excellent read. It's a companion to the book called Life as We Knew It. It's the story of 17-year-old Alex Morales. He lives in New York City with his two sisters, younger sisters, Julie, who has got quite a temper on her and is fiercely independent, and Brianna, who is very, very sweet, but also very sick with asthma. He loves his sisters. He takes very good care of them. He dreams of attending an Ivy League school and is working really hard to do that. He helps his dad around the apartment that they live in New York City. His dad is the building superintendent, and so he helps his dad out quite a bit with that. His dad, at the start of this story, is off in Puerto Rico visiting relatives, and his mom is, who works as a janitor at the hospital, is off at work that evening when the moon is knocked out of its orbit by a stray asteroid. An asteroid hits the moon, knocks it closer to Earth. If you remember from Earth science, the moon is in charge of the tides and in control of the tides. It also has pulls on lots of natural phenomenon. Volcanic eruption. It causes all sorts of intense things start happening. And Alex lives, like I said, in New York City. And with the moon being that close, it's pulling the tides into the city. It's got a very strong pull on the tides and it's pulling them in. New York is right on the coast. And suddenly New York is underwater. Not only that, but the communication systems, it's knocked out satellites, so there's no communication between New York and other parts of the country. Everything is descending into mass chaos. Alex is on his own. His mom does not return from work. He fears that maybe she was in the subway when the moon was not closer and was drowned when the subways were inundated with water. His dad, who's on an island in Puerto Rico, he hasn't heard from his dad again. Communication's been knocked out. Alex is in charge of himself and his sisters. How is he going to get them what they need to survive? This is called The Dead and the Gone. The Face on the Milk Carton by Carolyn B. Cooney is the story of 15-year-old Janie Johnson. Janie Johnson is lactose intolerant, so she doesn't drink milk. But her friends do, and when she's sitting with them one day, she looks across at her friend's milk carton and sees a picture on the back of it. It's the face of a missing child. It says, "Have you seen me?" When I was growing up in the 80s and the 90s, they used to put the faces of missing children on the back of milk cartons so that when you took them home, you could look at them and maybe you had seen that child, you could call the police and they could rescue or recover that child. They don't do that anymore. They now have like flyers. You'll see them up at Walmart. "Have you seen me?" flyers. I always encourage you to take a look to see if you've seen any of those people. But Janie, and the story takes place, the milk carton has the faces of missing children. And she looks across at her friend's milk carton and her heart stops because on the milk carton is a picture of a little girl, 3-year-old girl, kidnapped from a mall in New Jersey 12 years earlier. This girl is adorable with pigtails and a polka dot dress. And Jenny's heart stops. It doesn't break like you would if you just didn't know a child and you saw a missing child. Her heart actually stops because what she recognizes is that picture. She's seen that picture before. She hasn't seen it in another flyer. She hasn't seen it on another milk carton. She has seen that picture before because it's hanging in her house. It's a picture of her. But how can she be a kidnapped child when she has a loving mother and father? This is called The Face on the Milk Carton. Paralyzed by Jeff Rudd. Reggie Scott is a linebacker who plays for Lincoln High School. He is a great linebacker. He's a senior, and he's looking forward to that senior year. It's just the start of it, and he can't wait to get playing. He loves to hit, and he hits hard. And the start of the first game, he is rushing around the field, knocking people over, and then the great play happens. The ball comes his way. He jumps up, makes an interception, catches the ball for his team. And he falls down because he gets knocked down by a kid from the other team called Nate Brown. Nate Brown knocks Reggie to the ground, but Reggie manages to hold on to the ball, and he is so excited. It's his first interception of the season, and he made it. And he's a senior, and he can't contain himself. So he jumps up, he holds the ball above his head, and he's celebrating. And he's jumping up and down. Hey, I held on to the ball. That's awesome. I got knocked down, but I still held on to it. And he turns around, and he's like, why aren't my teammates rushing me? And he looks around, and he realizes no one is celebrating with him. And he's a little momentarily disturbed. And then he looks down and he sees the reason why no one is celebrating. Nate Brown, the kid who tackled him, is not moving. He hasn't gotten up off the field. The paramedics rush onto the field with a stretcher, and Nate is taken off to the hospital. Reggie is devastated. He becomes even more devastated when Nate's mom blames him or claims that he is a dirty player, that he hurt her son on purpose, that he was celebrating his injury, when all Reggie was trying to do was celebrate the interception, and he never would have done that had he known that Nate was hurt. And he just is so devastated that it's almost paralyzed him and prevented him from playing anymore, even at the same time that we don't know what's happened to Nate. This is called Paralyzed by Jeff Rudd. Top 8 by Katie Finn. Madison is excited. She's gotten a family trip to the Galapagos Islands, and she loves sea turtles. She can't wait to go down there and just be amongst them and frolic and watch the sea life. She is excited. The only thing she's not excited about is the fact that it means 2 weeks without any internet connection. She's not going to be able to be in contact with her friends for those 2 weeks because there's just no internet connection in the Galapagos. But like I said, she's excited about the trip, so she bids her friends adieu and takes off on the ship, has a great time, and actually meets a boy who she thinks is kind of cute. And she comes back, and she's excited to tell her friends all about her spring break trip, and she wants to hear about their spring breaks. So the first thing she does when she gets back is get on her computer and log on to her Friendverse account. And what she finds there horrifies her. While she's been gone, someone has hacked into her account and has posted the ugliest photos of her, has spilled the deepest, darkest secrets of her and her best friends all over her page, and has posted lies. Her boyfriend of 17 days before she left on the trip, Justin, has broken up with her. She just can't figure out who would want to destroy her life, and she sets out to figure it out. This is called Top 8 by Katie Finn. Brian's Winter by Gary Paulson. Gary Paulson wrote Hatchet. Hatchet is the story of Brian, who is on his way to visit his father in a plane with a pilot who has a heart attack, and the plane crash lands, and Brian is the only survivor of this plane wreck. And all he has to help him survive is a hatchet. That's the story of Hatchet. When his readers, Gary Paulson's readers, got done with Hatchet, they wrote him lots and lots and lots of letters and said, "You cheated us. You rescued Brian before the winter. We want to know how Brian is going to survive in the wilderness with just a hatchet during a Canadian winter." And so he thought about it. Gary Paulson went back and thought about it. He said, "You're right." So he sat down and wrote Brian's story called Brian's Winter, and he puts Brian back into the wilderness in the dead of winter with just a hatchet to survive. If you liked the Hatchet book itself and you haven't read the others in the series, this is a great read. Among the Hidden by Margaret Peterson Haddix. How many of you are firstborn or secondborn children? I'm a firstborn in my family. I'm the oldest. I have a younger sister. How many of you are thirdborn, fourthborn, fifthborn, or even younger than that in your families? Well, if you lived in Luke's world, if you weren't a first or second born child, you're not supposed to exist. You are a shadow child. Luke lives in a world that is run by the population police and population law 1389, which states that each family can have 2 children and 2 children only. Any more children found in a family than 2 will be taken out and killed, no questions asked. Luke is a third child. He's not supposed to exist. He is a shadow child. He has never been to school. He's not even allowed to eat dinner at the dining room table because if the population police drive by and see 5 chairs at a table where there should only be 4, they will come in and kill him. So he has always lived in hiding. One day when his brothers go to school and his parents go to work, Luke is upstairs in his bedroom because his parents desperately want to hide him and keep him alive. He's upstairs in his attic bedroom when he looks out the window in his attic. He's got a small little circular window. He looks out that window and he sees the curtain moving at the house across the way, a house where 2 boys have already been picked up for school and 2 parents have already been gone to work. And Luke starts to wonder if there are other shadow children like himself and if he has the courage to go out and meet them. This is called Among the Hidden. It is a series called the Shadow Children series. So if you like to read in series, it's a great book. Jade Green by Phyllis Reynolds Naylor. Judith Sparrow is an orphan, and she's wondering what's going to become of her when her uncle Jeffrey, who doesn't know very well, steps in and offers her a place to live. He offers to take her in, and Judith is so grateful. Jeffrey has one kind of strange request. He says, "Judith, you are more than welcome to come and move in with me, but there is one thing I ask. You may not bring with you anything green into my house." Judith says, "Okay." She kind of thinks, well, my uncle's kind of eccentric, but I will honor his request because he's going to let me into his home. I won't bring anything green. So she gets rid of all her green clothing, all of her green blankets, everything that's green, until she comes to a picture frame. It's a picture frame with a picture of her mother in it, mother that she just recently lost. It's a green picture frame. It's got green silk on it, and it's the last thing her mother gave her, and she just can't bear to part with it. So she decides she's going to bring it to Jeffrey's house, but she's just going to hide it in her chest. She'll never take it out. He'll never know she has it. So she does that, only to find out that her Uncle Jeffrey had a very good reason for her not bringing anything green into his home, because by bringing something green into his home, she has awoken the ghost of a girl named Jade Green, who wants revenge for her murder. This is called Jade Green by Phyllis Reynolds Naylor. Boy on the Wooden Box by Leon Layson. The state of Israel has an honorific known as the Righteous Among Nations, which is a designation given to non-Jews who risked their lives to save Jews during the Holocaust. One of the Righteous Among Nations is a man who is a member of the Nazi Party, a man by the name of Oskar Schindler, a man who used his position and influence and bribes to the Nazi Party in order to save the lives of 1,200 Jews. He did this by employing them as workers in his enamelware factory in occupied Poland. And one of the families that he saved was the Layson family. And the youngest member of that family was Leon. Oskar took Leon in as one of his workers when Leon was 14. Due to war and malnutrition, Leon was very short in stature. So in order to look like a worker when the Nazis would come by, officials would come by and inspect the factory, in order to look like he was a contributing member to that factory workforce, he had to stand on a wooden box in order to reach the handles. This is the story of Leon Layson, of the persecution his family experienced in Poland, and of the kindness and the saving of Oskar Schindler for him and his family. A very powerful story. If you don't know anything about Oskar Schindler, I highly encourage you to read this book called The Boy on the Wooden Box. Deacon Locke went to prom. Deacon Locke is 7 feet tall and very awkward, and he has never been to a school dance. But his senior prom is coming up, and he decides he absolutely has to go. The girl he wants to ask, his best friend, is already taken. So he decides to invite his other best friend, wait for it, his grandmother, Jean. And she agrees to go. See, Jean didn't get to go to her own prom. Deacon's grandfather was going to take her when they were seniors in high school, but he ended up getting drafted and sent off to war. So she's excited to go with Deacon, and Deacon's excited to go with Jean. She's his guardian, and he wants to have one last hurrah with her before he goes off to college. But Jean says to him, you know what, Deacon, I'll go with you, but you absolutely have to take some dance lessons. So he agrees, and he goes to dance lessons with his grandmother. And there he meets a dance teacher by the name of Soraya, a teenage girl his own age, who's just absolutely beautiful. They end up going to the prom, Jean and Deacon, and the videos of them dancing, he and his grandmother, go viral. And he and Jean become internet sensations. They're asked to be interviewed on TV. People just love the two of them. Happy days, right? Deacon and Soraya are dating. Fame is coming his way. But unfortunately, Jean seems to be losing her memory. And fame has a dark side. Fame has a way of changing people. How will Deacon handle all of it? And what is happening to his beloved Jean? Ransom by Lois Duncan. 5 kids get on the school bus after school. These are kids by the name of Jesse, Dexter, Marianne, Glenn, and Bruce. Other than Glenn and Bruce, who are brothers, the 5 kids don't really have all that much in common. But the one thing they do share in common is that they live in the same neighborhood, a neighborhood called Valley Gardens. It's considered the wealthiest neighborhood in this community. And the 5 of them always get dropped off together, and the last one's dropped off every day. Well, they get on the school bus that day and they realize that the bus driver is new. He's a substitute bus driver. They've never seen him before, and he's not making the right stops. So Bruce sits up front and tells the guy where to stop. And so the guy starts making the right stops with Bruce's help. And slowly the bus empties out until it's just these 5 kids. And they get to the Valley Gardens neighborhood, and the driver blows right past the stop sign. And Bruce says, dude, the stop sign was back. Our bus stop was about 2 blocks back there. And the bus driver looks at him and says, oh, we're not stopping. I'm kidnapping each one of you, and I'm holding you for ransom. And until $15,000 is paid for each one of you, none of you get to go. Well, Glenn and Bruce's parents have the money. It's tied up in stocks, but they can sell it and get money for their children. Marianne's parents don't have the cash right now. They're going through a divorce, and their money is tied up in the court systems. Dexter, whose uncle is the man he lives with, his uncle is loaded. He could pay all 5 kids as ransoms. Problem is, his uncle is away on business and has no idea that Dexter has been taken. And in fact, when the kidnappers called to get Dexter's ransom, the phone just keeps ringing and ringing and ringing. No one answers it. Jessie, the other girl on the bus, besides Mary Ann, is a military brat. Her family is just renting a home in the Valley Gardens neighborhood. They don't have the cash. But the kidnappers are not going to let any of these kids go until all 5 ransoms are paid. What are these kids going to do? The Compound by S.A. Bodine. Eli was 9 years old when the nuclear bomb was dropped. His dad had prepared for this moment. He had built them an elaborate bunker underground that was stocked with provisions and anything the family could want that should last them about 15 years when they could safely come out again and start living in the world. So when the bomb is dropped, Eli is awoken in the middle of the night by his father and his mother, and he is dragged to the compound, the underground bunker, along with his 2 sisters. In the confusion, his twin brother, Eli's twin brother Eddie, and his grandmother are left behind. They don't make it to the bunker in time, and Eli is still devastated and haunted by this 6 years later. 6 years after the bombs were dropped, Eli is now 15, and things are dire in the compound. Their food is running out. Their dad, when he built the bunker and stocked it, made a miscalculation, and they're running out of food. Dad also seems to be going insane. He is making strange threats and strange comments. For example, Eli is about to have a new sibling that's about to be born. And Dad is talking about cloning his new sibling and eating the clones for food. Eli is desperate to get the family out of it. He knows something is not right. He happens to find a laptop, and he finds a connection to the internet, even in the bunker, and he manages to get on. And what he discovers is that the world may not have been destroyed. in a nuclear bomb attack. And in fact, the world may be just fine and just normal. But why would his dad want to keep his family underground? What is really going on here? Can Eli save them? This is called The Compound by S.A. Bodine. Surrounded by Sharks by Michael Northrup. Davy Tessering is excited to be on vacation in Florida. He's never been anywhere before, and he's super excited that he's there. So when he wakes up in the morning and his brother and parents are still sleeping, he just cannot stomach the idea of spending the day in the hotel room or even an extra hour in the hotel room. So he quickly and quietly puts on his swim trunks and a t-shirt, grabs his book, and heads out to the beach. He doesn't leave a message for his parents because he doesn't expect to be gone that long. He just wants to go enjoy the sunrise and just hang out on that beach, that glorious white sand beach, and admire the water. Well, he gets out there. He finds a fairly deserted beach. No one's really up and moving yet. The beach has signs posted everywhere that swim at own risk, no lifeguard on duty. And he's okay with that. He can handle that. He's not planning to swim. He's just going to sit under the palm tree and read his book. But the lure of that water, that beautiful bright blue water, is too much for him. And he decides, I'm going to stick my feet in. He sticks his feet in that warm Florida water. He just decides, I'm just going to wade a little bit. So he wades out further. Soon wading turns into floating, and he's just having a great time. He looks up. He realizes the sun has risen quite a bit. He realizes he probably should get back to the hotel room. His parents are probably waking up, wondering where he's at. So he decides to swim towards shore. He discovers he's not making very much progress. Shore seems to be getting further and further away. Davy is caught in a riptide, and he is being taken further and further out to sea. He luckily finds a floating milk carton that he uses almost as a life preserver. He floats on it. And he's doing okay. He's confident that the Coast Guard's going to find him. His parents will wake up. They'll realize he's gone. Somebody's going to notice his book on the beach. They'll come try to find him. And he's optimistic about it until he notices the fins that are circling, until he gets bumped. And he looks down and he realizes he's surrounded by sharks, hungry sharks. This is called Surrounded by Sharks by Michael Northrup. Skeleton Man by Joseph Bruchac. This is the story of Molly. Molly grew up hearing a Mohawk legend that her dad learned when he lived on the Mohawk Reservation. And growing up, it's a scary story about a hunting party and a man who decided to stay behind while the rest of the hunting party went out. He was cold, he was hungry, he had a fire going, he decided to stay in the lodge. So this man stayed behind while the rest of the hunting party went out and went hunting. And he had his hands by the flame, warming them. And one of the flames popped and singed his finger, and he put it in his mouth to cool it and discovered that he liked the taste of his flesh. And so he proceeded to eat the rest of his flesh. He became a skeleton man. And as the people came back one by one, he ate and killed and consumed them until one girl, the final girl in this party, came back and realized something was not right. And the uncle, the skeleton man, invited her in to come join him at the fire. And she backed away and ran off. And the legend has it that the skeleton man to this day seeks that one girl who got away from him. Now, Molly always thought this was a story her dad told her to scare her, so she didn't think too much of it. Until the night her parents went out to celebrate their anniversary dinner and don't come back. She is very, very panicked because she's too young to be by herself. Her school officials figure out she's alone, and they send her to social services. Social services is happy to have her because there is a man who has come claiming to be Molly's uncle, who is very pale, very thin, has gloves he refuses to take off, and he claims to be her uncle. And social services believes him, and Molly is sent with him. Is the skeleton man real, and can Molly escape him? I'm going to pause it for just a moment here. All right, excuse me there for that brief pause. I had to go out and do some hall monitoring. Bull Rider by Marilyn Halverson. This is a story of Lane. Lane's dad was one ride away from a national championship when he got trampled to death by a bull. As a result of his death from bull riding, Lane's mother is dead set against Lane becoming a bull rider himself. but that's the only thing Lane wants to do. Lane wants to ride bulls. He wants to give his dad that championship by winning it for him. And he goes behind his mother's back to train. Will he win? And will his mother accept the fact that he has gone to do this without her permission? This is called Bull Rider. If you like rodeo action and you like rodeos in general, this is an excellent read. Wanted by Carolyn B. Cooney. Alice is shocked when she receives a phone call from her father about noon, asking her to grab a computer disk from his bedroom, get in his Corvette, and drive to their favorite ice cream place to meet him to give him the disk. She's shocked to get this phone call because she doesn't have a driver's license. And she interrupts her dad to remind him of the fact that she doesn't have a license and really shouldn't be driving his car. And he says, I know, just do what I asked. And he hangs up the phone. Alice is a little disturbed by her dad's tone, but she is super excited to drive his car. Cannot wait. So she marches over to his room, grabs that disc, fluffs up her hair so she looks perfect. I mean, because it's not every day you get to drive a Corvette, and heads out towards the garage to go meet her dad. While she's in the process of walking to that garage, she hears two people burst into her house as burglars. She's terrified. She throws herself under the Corvette and hides there while these men ransack her house. When they've left, she goes back in, sees couch cushions have been turned over, stuffing is falling out of them because they've been slit open. Piles of papers are on the floor. Her dad's office is an absolute mess. With shaking hands, she gets in that Corvette, drives to the ice cream location shop that her dad told her to meet her at, and waits there. She's trying to calm her nerves, so she turns on the radio to listen to some music. While she's listening to the music, the song is broken into with a news bulletin. News is that her father's body has been found. He's been murdered. And Alice herself, according to the news broadcast, has confessed via email to his murder, that she was the one who murdered him. Alice didn't murder her father. Who did, and whoever did, now wants Alice dead. This is called Wanted. Warcross by Marie Lu. This is the story of hacker and coder Amika Chen. She makes her living as a bounty hunter, tracking down people betting illegally on Warcross, a virtual reality battle game. She hacks into a Warcross tournament game to scavenge, trying to make some more money to support herself when her presence is discovered. The inventor of the Warcross game, Hido Tanaka, hires her to investigate a Warcross security threat. He wants to find a hacker known only as Zero who seems to be messing with Warcross, trying to destroy it. And so he sets Amika on this hacker, Zero. Can Amika figure out who this hacker is before she becomes the hunted, before she is the one that the zeroes in on to kill? Warcross by Marie Lu. Buzzkill by Beth Van Taske. 17-year-old Millie Ostermeyer is the one to make the finding, or to be the one to find the corpse or the body of Coach Hollering Hank Killdeer. He's been murdered. Coach Killdeer is the football coach for Millie's high school. He's not very well liked. He has many enemies. One of his enemies happens to be Millie's dad, Coach Ostermeyer. And in fact, Coach Ostermeyer, Millie's dad, was the last one to be seen arguing with Coach Hollering Hank Killdeer. And opinion in the town is that Millie's dad is the one that killed Hollering Hank Killdeer. Just couldn't take it anymore, couldn't take his attitude, and lashed out and killed him. Millie doesn't believe it. She doesn't believe her dad did it. So she sets out to figure out who murdered Hollering Hank Killdeer. And there is no end to the suspects because Hollering Hank Killdeer, like I said, was not well liked. There were a lot of people with motive and opportunity. Who did it? Can Millie figure it out before it's too late for her dad? This is called Buzzkill. Ranger's Apprentice, The Ruins of Gorlon. 15-year-old Will is nervous about choosing day. This is a day when each teen at Castle Redmont is given an apprentice master. Will's dearest wish is to enter battle school, but his small stature precludes it. He knows he's not going to be selected for battle school. He is instead apprenticed to a grim-faced, mysterious ranger who is a scout/spy. And Will comes to love becoming a spy because he's spying on evil Lord Margrath, who is amassing his forces and is about to make battle on Will's people. And Will becomes the one that may be able to stop it. Ranger's Apprentice, The Ruins of Gorlon. Awkward by Marnie Bates, excuse me. Mackenzie Welsey is having an awkward junior year. She is bound and determined to lie low. She wants to avoid the notice of the notables, or the popular kids at her school. So she's trying to lie low and get her top grades so she can get a scholarship and get to college and move on from this high school experience. And then she happens to accidentally knock over one of the star football players, and he's down on the ground, and she suddenly feels like when she knocked him over, that she may have knocked him out and that maybe he is dead. So she starts to administer CPR to him, not realizing that he's just a little surprised, but doesn't need CPR. And the way the world works, phones are everywhere, and somebody records this viral video of poor Mackenzie trying to give CPR to a football player that she has just knocked down who doesn't need CPR. The video goes viral, like national, international viral. Everyone is watching it. Somebody has uploaded it to the web, and it's going around. And Mackenzie is absolutely mortified until the hottest rock group around turns her video into a music video with a new hit song. And suddenly, Mackenzie has fans worldwide. They're sending her new designer clothes. They're sending her cash. They're sending her letters telling them how much they love her, how awesome she is. She's getting invitations to VIP events. She actually goes to that group, the rock group that recorded the song about her using her video. She goes and she sings on stage with the lead singer for her song. And that video ends up going viral because Mackenzie's got real talent, talent she's been hiding from everybody. She's a great singer. Will the fame that she has suddenly acquired go to her head? It's an interesting, funny book. And if you like funny books with positive messages, I highly recommend Awkward. I hope that you today found something of interest in these books. Like I said, we can look for these when you come down. We can also find other types of books. This was just a selection of books that we have available. I look forward to meeting all of you. Again, we'll see Miss Lampy's students in here on Friday, and we'll see Miss Asplin's students in here on Monday. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.